Now we'll practice Ardhanavasana. So lay on your back again, starting with a neutral spine here. Feet flat, knees bent. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Be in neutral here. And then exhale and find a deep contraction of the low belly. So the low, deep belly pulls back towards the anterior spine, tucking the pelvis, and then stretch your legs out at 45 degrees and lift your shoulder blades and arms up. Inhale here and find length in the limbs. Exhale and scoop the belly again, thinking of the belly moving towards the back body, contracting there. Inhale, stretch the arms and stretch the legs. Roll the thighs in and make your legs longer. Exhale, find a deep contraction. Inhale, be here. Exhale, a deep contraction again. 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 And then inhale, lay back down, bend your knees, feet flat, and recover here. Smooth breath, inhaling and exhaling. Now we'll practice pigeon pose. So start on hands and knees with a blanket underneath your knees and shins for padding. And bring your right knee forward and align yourself so that your right knee is a little bit wider than your outer hip. The front leg is folded into pigeon position, and then tuck the back toes under, lift the thigh, and internally rotate that thigh so that the outer left thigh is dropping down, so that the hips become more square, and pull the right femur back towards the hip socket. And keep that activity going as you support your upper body with the fingertips. Lift up through the belly, lift up through the side ribs, shoulders back. And be here in this upright pigeon. Tailbone is anchoring, low belly is buoyant. Long in the side ribs, squaring the hips here. And then lengthen yourself out as you come down onto forearms and breathe into your kidney area a little bit here. Breathing into the backs of the lungs, spreading the kidneys. Letting the abdomen settle back towards the spine here. And breathe into the sensations of the outer right hip. See if you can gather the right femur into the hip socket more deeply. Gather the flesh of the right thigh from the outer right knee to the outer hip. You can gently gather your outer hips both towards each other, towards the midline. And then if it's available to you, you can walk your hands even further forward and let your forehead come down onto the sticky mat. Elongating your trunk here. Active arms. And breathe into the sensations in the right hip. Observing here, deepen your breath. And then start to walk your hands back to come up to a seated pigeon. And lift the sternum from bottom to top. Spread the collarbones wide, shoulders back, and look up. And then come back onto hands and knees. And take your left knee forward for pigeon, taking the left knee quite wide so that it's wider than the left hip. Walk your hands back and sit tall in this seated pigeon. And then tuck your back toes under. Lift the back thigh for a moment and internally rotate that back thigh so that the outer right thigh can drop down as the hips become more square. And then spread wide the collarbones and lift the low belly and start to look up and lengthen through the anterior spine. Lengthen the front side of your trunk, shoulders back. Squaring the hips here as you gather the left femur deeper into the hip socket. Gathering the flesh of the left thigh from the outer knee to the outer hip. Gathering the outer hips towards the midline. Shoulders back, elbows back, buoyant belly. And give another lift under the collarbones to lengthen the throat and look up. And then come down onto your forearms and breathe into the kidneys here. Let the right hip settle down. Breathe into the sensations in the outer left hip. Let the abdomen settle towards the spine. Elongate the spine from the tail all the way through the top of the head. Resting on the forearms here. And then if you'd like to, you can reach your arms further forward with very extended arms and armpits and let your forehead rest down on the sticky mat. Breathing deeply here, breathing into the sensations of the left hip. Smooth inhalations, smooth exhalations. And start to walk your hands back now to come up into a seated pigeon again. Shoulders and elbows back, side ribs long, shoulder blades sliding down the back as you lift the low belly. And then step yourself back into hands and knees to come out of the pose. Now we'll practice Gomukhasana legs. So stack up 2 folded blankets, as you see here. And then come onto your hands and knees with the blankets behind you. And cross your right knee in front of the left knee, as you see. And then you'll crawl yourself back so that the folded blankets are between the feet. And let yourself come to sit back so that your buttocks, your sitting bones, are supported by the blankets and your legs are in this very crossed position. And take a moment to adjust the flesh of your calf muscles and adjust the flesh of the buttocks so that you can sit right on the center of the sitting bones. And so your legs are very deeply folded into each other. So you can have the heels quite close to the outer hips, or you can move the heels a little further from the outer hips. Hands on the blanket behind you. Lengthen and lift the spine, shoulders back, elbows back. Let your thigh bones settle. And then change the position of the hands so the hands will rest on the top knee. Have straight elbows and lift from underneath the heart. The abdomen is receding back. And let the thigh bones and the knees be heavy and relaxed. And then start to come forward, taking your hands onto the floor and walk those hands even more forward as you find a gentle forward bend here. So let there be a gentle curve in the spine, something like a child's pose back. Think of pulling the right femur back towards the hip socket and think of firming the outer hips towards each other. Let the upper buttocks release down towards the blankets behind you. And breathe into the sensation here. Connect your femurs back into the hip sockets. Smooth breathing. Be the witness here. Observe yourself in this posture. Observe yourself responding to the sensations. Observe yourself breathing. And then start to walk your hands back to let yourself back up, hands resting on the top knee. Come all the way upright in your spine, head over tail. And then come forward onto hands and knees again, and we'll switch sides. So now take the left knee in front of the right knee, crossing the shins. And back your hips up so that your hips will come down onto the blankets. And take a moment here to adjust the flesh of your buttocks, to adjust the flesh of the calves. And sit tall on the center of your sitting bones. Hands on the blankets behind you. Lengthen the sides of your waist all the way up into the armpits so those side ribs are lifting and the heads of the humerus bones go back. So there comes a natural lift from under the heart, from under the collarbones. Pubic bone is descending, groins deep and descending. And let your hands rest on the top knee here as you invite the femurs to get grounded, the knees to be heavy and relaxed. Spine is tall and natural. And then pull the left femur back towards the hip socket and gather your outer hips in towards the midline as you walk your hands forward to find the forward bend here. Gentle, natural curve of the spine as the belly recedes, as the upper buttocks releases down, as you gently lengthen the trunk forward. Head is relaxed. You can stay active with the femur bones, gathering the femur bones back towards the hip sockets and gathering the outer hips in. Breathe into the sensations here, observing each moment, not at all placing judgment on the situation. Stay present here and breathe into the sensations that arise. And now start to walk your hands back so that you can sit up tall. Hands stack on the top knee again. Steady, smooth breath here. Lifting and opening through the back of the throat. Outer hips are grounded. And then come forward onto hands and knees to come out of the pose. Now we'll practice Tarasana. Sitting down, bring your feet together and knees open, and the feet are quite far from the pelvic floor, so leave a lot of length and space there. Hands behind you on the sticky mat to help you lengthen the spine, shoulders back, and then start to hinge at the hips to fold forward, abdomen receding, rib cage lengthening forward. So the front of the trunk stays long, just as the back of the trunk is long. And then let your spine find a very natural rounded position as your forearms get heavy, as the hands are on the sticky mat. Let your head and tail both release down, and let the knees be heavy. Think of the groins reaching back. Smooth and steady breath here. So allow yourself to become quite introverted in this pose, turning your senses inwards, deep inside yourself, to study the inner landscape of your body, the inner landscape of your mind, the inner sensations. Going deep into your internal world as you relax and release, as you breathe, as you stay present in your body. Stay present in this moment. And then start to roll yourself back up, finding an upright spine,